Howdy, we're learning more about the possible connection between singer David and a missing teenage girl found dead in the trunk of a Tesla owned by him.
Hey guys, I'm Taryn LeRae and welcome to Taryn's Business Hub. Over the past months, I've followed the disturbing case of music artist David Anthony Burke, known as D4VD, and Celeste Rivas Hernandez, just like many of you. Now, for those unfamiliar with who D4VD is, he's a music artist and internet personality who built a massive online following, particularly among younger audiences. But despite his popularity online, many people have openly admitted they had never even heard of him until this disturbing case involving Celeste became an international trending discussion. And for those that aren't familiar with who Celeste is in relation to David, it's been alleged that she was in some kind of age inappropriate and illegal relationship with David, who was older than her, obviously, during the ages of when she was 11 or 12 years old until she was murdered at 14 and found dead and dismembered in the trunk of his Tesla one day before her 15th birthday.
Troubling new details in the case involving popular recording artist David. The Los Angeles County Medical Examiner says a body found inside a Tesla registered in the singer's name has now been identified as Celeste Rivas, a 15-year-old girl who had been missing for more than a year. Police made the grisly discovery last Monday, saying the Tesla had been abandoned in the Hollywood Hills.
It was banged up and kept moving from one place to other place within a couple of blocks from here.
Workers at this tow yard noticed an odor coming from the front trunk, which turned out to be decomposing remains. There's no official word yet as to how the teenager died. According to the medical examiner, Rivas had a tattoo on her index finger reading "shh." While that tattoo is not uncommon with several performers, David has the same tattoo in the same location. The singer has amassed a substantial following with 33 million monthly Spotify listeners. He spoke about his rise to stardom last year with our Lindsay Davis.
The success has kind of been quite literally overnight, so it's kind of hard to kind of be in the moment sometimes, but I'm just taking it in slowly, appreciate it.
Now, despite this gruesome murder, what makes this case especially disturbing in hindsight is that much of his public image, his music, his symbolism, his visuals, interviews he did, and the performances openly romanticized blood, death, gore, emotional destruction, obsession, and killing long before Celeste's death became an international discussion.
In the back of my mind, you died.
This is someone who was literally carrying caskets into concert stages while millions of people interpret it as artistry, internet culture, emotional expression, or creative identity. Those lines were definitely blurred. So we have a murdered young girl who had her entire life ahead of her taken. And as many facets of this case continues to unfold, it continues to be so disheartening. But the more prosecutors present findings, the more that we watch clips and learn of timelines, we're able to see screenshots and text messages, the more I realized this conversation is much bigger than just one situation. And the more I watched everything unfolding, the more I felt compelled to sit down and talk about something that goes beyond just this specific situation. Yes, this situation is an entry door to what I'm about to talk about, because I wanted to extract a universal human truth from this case through my own lived experiences with loss, grief, relationships, environments, my own spirituality, and discernment. Because what started bothering me wasn't only the allegations themselves, it was the psychology underneath it all. The way people hide, the obsession, the emotional fixation, the way perception can completely distort what's actually happening underneath the surface. And I kept thinking to myself, how many people move through this world appearing harmless while privately operating from a completely different moral reality? That's what makes cases like this so disturbing. If I haven't learned anything on this planet, one thing that I have learned is that there are many faces of evil. And I think one of the biggest mistakes human beings make is expecting evil to introduce itself honestly. People want darkness to arrive looking obvious. They want darkness to announce itself clearly and loudly, but some of the most dangerous individuals don't even look dangerous at all. In real life, evil often survives because it wears masks. And the older I get, the more I started noticing certain psychological patterns, certain behavioral dynamics, certain things hidden underneath the surface. And it points back to some of the conversations that I've had on this channel, especially my video about the Venus flytrap personality type, where I talked about how some people don't overpower you through force. They pull you in through perception. Like the Venus flytrap whose body resembles a flower, which is simply a disguise of itself through beauty, while hiding the trap underneath the petals. Darkness can be hidden through charm, through softness, through emotional presentation, through appearing harmless. And as I kept watching this D4VD and Celeste situation unfold, I couldn't stop thinking about one uncomfortable truth. Some of the most dangerous people do not look dangerous. And the psychological discomfort of realizing that humans can appear one way publicly while privately operating from an entirely different moral reality is almost always mind-jarring. And listen, I'm not the legal system. I'm not here to convict anybody. Facts matter, evidence matter, the legal process matters. But that's not what this is. But psychologically, there are still things we can observe. And there are still patterns worth discussing here, because conversations like this can sharpen people's awareness about the kinds of darkness that quietly shape relationships, the darkness that quietly shapes environments that you live in, family dynamics, the communities that you work in and socialize in, and human behavior itself. So the reason why I decided to talk about this is because these kinds of patterns repeat themselves throughout human life. And 25 years from now, this message will still hold weight. Because one thing that I've observed over and over in life is that people have a very hard time accepting darkness when it comes wrapped in attractiveness, or talent, or humor, vulnerability, or even charm. People almost want evil to announce itself dramatically. They want the villain to look like the villain. But life doesn't always work that way. And one thing that I've learned in my own life is this: evil rarely arrives in only one form. Sometimes it hides behind artistry. And honestly, that's part of what stood out to me while watching this entire D4VD situation unfold. Because there were already things publicly in plain sight that many people kept emotionally rationalizing instead of questioning more. The caskets, the death symbolism, the emotional intensity, the obsessive energy, the fixation. At what point do people stop romanticizing darkness and start recognizing warning signs? Because sometimes people confuse emotional expression with emotional health. Those are not the same thing. This conversation isn't only about D4VD, David Anthony Burke. I've seen hidden darkness wear many different masks throughout my entire life. I saw it through spiritual authority. Right before my dad passed, I was dating a pastor. The connection was very early on, but soon after I ended the relationship. And this man intentionally used footage connected to my dad's funeral as a way to punish and emotionally torment me during one of the darkest periods of my life. Even while grieving my dad, I still recognized early on that this was not somebody that I wanted in my life. That cruelty afterward revealed the depth of what I had actually disconnected from. What disturbed me wasn't only the cruelty itself, it was the contradiction. Watching someone stand on a church pulpit on Sunday preaching about God, righteousness, morality, and spiritual leadership while privately behaving in ways that were cold, vindictive, and emotionally cruel. Evil doesn't always arrive looking demonic like they show in the movies or media. Sometimes it arrives dressed in religion. Sometimes it carries a Bible. Sometimes it sounds spiritual. Sometimes it's publicly respected while privately destroying people.
Fort Worth pastor is no longer behind the pulpit after telling his church about sexual assault accusations against him. Our Marvin Hurst has more on the allegations and the plea for mercy.
And now my name is known to everybody in Texas, it seems like.
This is Pastor Alonzo Diego Fuller. He's having a heart-to-heart with his church after bonding out of jail for a sexual assault charge in September 2025. He told members about his arrest. Fort Worth police say he had an outstanding warrant in this case. Fuller says officers surrounded his home. He even showed his congregation his mugshot.
Before it all came out, I already had an idea that I was going to post my mugshot, put my mugshot up there. That's me. I still look good.
Well, the 40-year-old is back in jail. He's been there since May 5th. Fuller is facing a 2-count indictment from March. The indictment also alleges that Fuller touched the victim without her consent. The defendant is a clergyman, says the document, exploiting her emotional dependency on the defendant. The indictment also alleges he was this person's spiritual advisor. That's count 1.
And I want to just be transparent today, if that's okay. I want to be transparent, and I want to start off by saying that the allegations that was made towards me are absolutely false. I want you to know that.
In count 2, the document alleges he enticed a child younger than 18 years of age to engage in a specific conduct. The indictment alleges it involves sexual activity.
They often expect perfection from a position like this, but I just want to submit to you, Journey Forward Church, and let you know plainly, if you're looking for a perfect pastor, I am not your boy. I am human, I am flawed, and I'm still being shaped by God every single day. But I will say again, the allegations made towards me in this case are absolutely not true.
He describes all of this as an attack from the devil.
And I've seen this kind of darkness operate through environments centered around control and psychological dependency too. Not through physical violence where you see the abuse, not through the obvious abuse, but through manipulation, through fear, dependency, control, pressure, and the slow erosion of people's identities over time. I watch people gradually lose themselves year after year. People becoming emotionally depleted, financially drained, mentally exhausted, disconnected from who they once were. And what made it so dangerous was that none of it looked obviously evil on the surface. Again, not movie villain evil, concealed evil. The kind that slowly consumes people until they barely recognize themselves anymore.
Actress Allison Mack, who starred in the TV series Smallville, was sentenced to 3 years in prison on Wednesday for her role in NXIVM, a New York-based cult whose leader was sentenced to 120 years in prison for sex trafficking and other crimes.
It's a cult, right? So it's this insidious little community where everybody stays connected to each other and everybody's reinforcing the belief system that everybody has.
Do you remember where it started changing for you?
I was involved in for 12 years.
12 years.
You know, and stuff didn't start to get really dysfunctional and illegal until like the 8th or 9th year that I was involved. I mean, in NXIVM, you're dealing with Keith Raniere, a person who is really good at manipulating people. These were not stupid people. These are not people that didn't have resources, who were longing for something that he said, I can help you with. And then he gave just the right amount of help to get you to believe that you needed him to be good, to do what you wanted to do in your life. It was great, and then it was not great. If I recognize that I was wrong, and that everything that we were doing was for bad things, not for good things, then I have to attend with the fact that I did some really bad things. And what does that mean about me?
And then I've even seen it inside the people closest to us, family, friends, familiar relationships. One of the hardest realizations I had after my dad passed was recognizing how cruelty can sometimes hide behind familiarity. I was grieving one of the greatest losses of my life. And instead of compassion, there were moments of dismissiveness, disregard, mockery, emotional punishment, and cruelty surrounding my grief. And what makes those experiences so confusing is that from the outside, many people would never have suspected the torment happening privately. That's why darkness like this survives so long, because people are trained to trust appearances. They trust titles, charisma, familiarity, public image, social perception. And honestly, that's part of what made the Celeste aspect of this case affect me so deeply too. Because when people, especially emotionally impressionable young people, become entangled in destructive dynamics, the psychological consequences can run very deep.
Yo, wait.
Oh, look at answer that one. That's so mean if you don't answer
Which
that.
one? It looks like at the beginning, it's just a guy and a girl seemingly joking, having fun on this live stream, and people are commenting.
Celeste is 13. David is 18. It's one of the few videos we have of the two of them together, if not the only video.
I media trained you. That's controversial.
It's controversial of raping kids.
It's been a good one. Bye.
Bye, guys.
And I think people underestimate how much darkness can distort someone's perception when they are emotionally vulnerable or attached, impressionable, admiring someone, or psychologically overwhelmed. That goes for children and adults, which brings me to another realization. Evil rarely survives alone. Most destructive people have some kind of ecosystem protecting them. An entourage, an audience, a system, a community, a circle of emotional defenders. People excusing behavior, normalizing behavior, rationalizing behavior, ignoring the behavior itself. And sometimes those people are not evil themselves. Sometimes they're manipulated, they're dependent, afraid, emotionally attached, conditioned, or simply unwilling to confront what's right in front of them. But darkness often survives socially long before it survives individually. That's why discernment matters so much. Not paranoia, not fear of everybody, discernment. The ability to recognize destructive behaviors and recognize destructive patterns before they consume your peace, consume your identity, your emotions, your future, your confidence, or life. Because once you understand that evil wears many different faces, you stop automatically trusting presentation. You stop confusing charisma with character. You don't confuse emotional expression or artistry with emotional health. You don't confuse religious performance with morality, popularity with integrity. You start paying attention differently. And honestly, that's the deeper reason I wanted to have this conversation. Not to spread darkness, not to obsess over evil, not to become cynical about humanity, but to encourage people to become more conscious. Because once you understand that evil wears many different faces, you stop automatically trusting presentation. You won't confuse the titles with good character, or charm with goodness, or religious performance with morality, or emotional expression with emotional help, or just because they're popular, they have integrity. You start paying attention differently. And that's the universal truth underneath all of this. Evil rarely introduces itself honestly. That's why discernment matters so much. So let me know your thoughts down in the comments. If you've been following the David Anthony Burke or D4VD and Celeste Rivas Hernandez case, if there was something in this video that resonated with you that you'd like to share, definitely leave your thoughts below. I'm Taryn LeRae, and as always, you'll see me in the next video.